Ichigo awakens by Talachi, chapter 91. What's happening in Soul Society? Project Shepherd's Progress. Kisuke Urahara was making his rounds around the labs in Barracks of Squad 12, checking in on the progress of the various projects and experiments that the Shinigami were in charge of. Ichigo's excursion into the new dimension certainly was a boon for ideals with those Imperial arms, but full recreations of them were impossible due to the lack of the same materials used in their construction. That, however, was a challenge that Urahara and Mayuri relished. Now, if only some of the other captains and lieutenants would help out as well. Kisuke figured a Soifon would jump at improving the lethality of her Susumibachi, but the Wasp refused any tampering. Both Soul Reaper and Sapakto. I get the risks with the Muramasa blade, but she's the captain of the assassination unit. He growled while heading to revive the Matzo branch. Once he entered, he found rows of dozens of bodies in tubes of all varieties. Along the middle were rows of monitors and computers with what the squad members and scientists he could spare. With Nozomi Kujo at the head of it all. All right, everyone ready? And she called out, wearing a lab coat over her shihakusho, which for some reason had a miniskirt. Not a lot of complaints about that. Nor did work slow down. Not since he threatened that anyone who slacked off would be sent to Mayuri's playground as a new test subject. Okay, armor shift, test 9, begin. Suddenly one of the tubes on the right side glowed red as the body inside started to shift and mutate. Some parts got a metallic sheen while others got bulkier, like thick plate armor when the body began bleeding. Shut it down, the vedette said, slumping in her chair. What's the damage? Torn muscles, tendons, and ligaments, perforated lungs, a ruptured heart, cranial hemorrhaging, a fractured spine, and other bones all throughout. And the guts can be best described as pulp, ma'am. One person reported. Nozomi released a growl of frustration. At least it didn't explode this time, she said, finally noticing her captain. How can I help you, Kisuke? Please make it quick. It's been a rough week. So I've noticed, he commented, looking over the reports that was sent to him over the course of the experiments. I'll try to get back to Ichigo on sending us more concrete samples of the Teiku. We've just recently got our hands on some internal organs from someone whose Teiku was literally her blood. Maduri experimenting with it now, and I'll send Ichigo some Giga as recompense. He did mention that he's got some recruits finally. Just then a loud crash and metal tearing sounded out to the base, followed by several pain cries and one joy. Success! Maduri sang. For reasons most of the squad could only guess. Did you finish that one for the wrong arm? It's in the back, sir. Nozomi said as most of her team got back to work. One unlucky sapper drew the short straw and was stuck cleaning the bloody tube. Government change of society. This is so boring. Kukaku groaned out, pouring herself another cup of sake while she, Yushiro, and Byakuya continued to work. Soon after the Rega debacle finally ended, Yamamoto killed the members of Central 46 that blamed the coup in a desperate act to retain their power and authority, which now necessitated the act of putting the new democratic government into action. Five elected officials for every district to discuss laws and economics. 2 more from every district to form a separate representative house to handle things between districts of each region. Another 8 plus the captain of Squad 14 to govern Rukon as a whole. Finally, another 4 to represent each region in the 10 meetings with the heads of the great noble houses and chairman of the house who govern civil actions in the Serte. Altogether, this group would ensure every district had voice. For the judicial side, 1 judge per district, 5 per region, and 9 for the Serte, all elected by the people for the Rukon and appointed by votes of the Gotai for the Serte. So why were these 3 great noble heads meeting? Upon another crime lord, you should announce holding up a report from the Omitsukido. The reason for this meeting was to plan the future elections and eventually first meeting of the new government. And as one should expect, there was a few shady characters looking to get more power and authority. Drug trafficking, child abuse, unethical workplace, the usual. Yamamoto ordered them to ensure only clean record and sound character officials could be elected to the respective position. Advised advised by the Serete judges on the current laws, or as close as they can get them. I forget them. Are brothels illegal? Only if they discriminate gender, ignore employee consent, offer no health care or birth control, and have substandard work living conditions. Byakuya droned out. As distasteful as I find such establishment, we must take it slow to fully civilize the soul society. Gladiator arenas, given a pass as killing and crippling is forbidden, and considering good training to get into one of the Shinigami starter schools around the Rukon. Kokaku answered, chugging her sake from the bottle as they barely make a dent in the paperwork. We're gonna die in here, aren't we? Kenpachi versus Kenpachi. It's been a while since he was down here and dropping into the final dark level of the Mukin prison cell, the endless expanse of dark oblivion where only few were ever permitted, either by imprisonment or to train without restraint. The last time he was here was neither of those reasons, but to enjoy his time with his predecessor and now wife, Yachiro Retsu Onohana. Now he's back. Not for imprisonment or training, but for an execution to kill the only man still imprisoned in the Mukin. You can show yourself at any time. Sasaki called out into the darkness. The only way out of here is through me. He pulled out a tag before placing it on the elevator, immediately wrapping it in burning reishi, reminiscent of Ichigo's own reishi. And you'll have to kill me to get out. Soon he heard footsteps that revealed their master as a man that was more slim than Byakuya Kuchiki. He was closer to a foot shorter than Saraki, and looked more like a member of royalty rather than the captain of Squad 11, with a long ponytail and framing bags of dark purple hair. So you're the 8th Kenpachi? Soya Asashiro Kenpachi Saraki, the man answered. Kenpachi Asashiro, the 8th holder of the title Kenpachi, sealed away in the Mukan after staging a coup, and it took the entire royal guard at the time to best him and lock him away. This was 1,000 years ago. His Senpakuto was never found, and he still looked as healthy as the day before his revolt. So what brings a brute like yourself down here again? He asked, looking down at the savage while planning an attack. Are you here to offer me a chance at freedom if I choose to fight with Soul Society against the Quincy? That's certainly one option I'm here to give, Saraki stated, not at all surprised with the knowledge the prisoner displayed. The other is that I execute you. So why don't you do us a favor? Why don't you do us both a favor and submit? The prisoner sighed and shook his head. I have been listening and watching, but do you really expect me to just bow my head to a child? He asked, thinking back to his shock when Yamamoto named Ichigo his intended successor. I have sensed his power, but I refuse to acknowledge a brat like him as my better. If you make me the head commander of the Gotai, I might consider it. Saraki nodded his head. I understand, he said before unsheathing his blade and dashing at the former Kenpachi, slamming his blade down and creating a thunderous earth-shaking crash. I said this was going to be an execution anyway. Asashiro flashed back, and Saraki felt something move across his chest. Did you just try to cut me? He asked, seeing the former Kenpachi look on in shock. If you did, then it was weak. This is a cut, he said as he held his Senpakuto in both hands and swung his blade, stopping just shy of striking the ground. There was an explosion of force and air, creating a notable dust storm in the prison cell, and an air blade that barely missed Asashiro. The prisoner looked on in shock at the display of power as the air around Zaraki burned with his Reiatsu, giving the impression of a burning skull behind him. Come on, you once held the title of Kenpachi. Make this entertaining, he ordered, smiling savagely at his opponent. What is he? Asashiro thought as fear crept back up into his being, a feeling he thought he had long since disposed of. Mozo, he said, creating hundreds of mouths and hands around them, with each one chanting the incantation of a high-level haro and creating a black box around Saraki. Hado 90, Kuro Hitsugi. He finished before the Kido exploded, revealing an unscathed Saraki. That child's spell have more punch to them than that did, the Kenpachi said, flicking his sword after destroying those Kido with a single swing. Is that really all you've got? He demanded, the former Kenpachi racking his brain trying to come up with something that could actually hurt the monster before him. "Oh, what a disappointment," he said, resting his blade on his shoulder. "If you want to bring out your Senpaku, I'll force you to drink Nosa," he started before feeling something against his tongue before Asashiro cried out in pain. "Ah, I get it now. When you told the Central 46 that you already shown your Senpaku, you meant it was still active. Everything around you is your Senpaku. That is the power of my Uru Sakura," Asashiro admitted. "With it, I can merge with anything, turn anything into my blade or my shield, use as many Kido as I want at the same time. I'm not just merged with the air in the Muken, I'm merged with the whole of Soul Society. And despite all that power, you've never escaped or even hurt me. Guess there are limits to what you can do after all," Saraki taunted, earning a glare from the former Kenpachi. I said to make this entertaining. If you don't pull out all the stops to fight me, then I'll kill you quickly," the captain threatened shortly before Asashiro began to fade away. Saraki needed a second to compose himself from the sudden disappearance of the prisoner. Then his head snapped upwards and he jumped, rocketing himself up to proper height. He swung his blade and cut the very air. Asashiro reformed and screamed in pain as blood spilled from a massive cut in his chest, followed by Saraki grabbing his leg and throwing him back to the ground. "Did you just try to run away?" the Kenpachi growled as he landed next to his opponent. "How did you cut me?" Asashiro demanded, feeling in mortal danger for the first time in his long life. "I was one with air. Let me remind you of what I am," Saraki said as he placed his foot on the former Kenpachi's chest. I am a nameless runt from the furthest and most lawless district of the Rukon. Killing, fighting was all I knew, and how I survived. No one was stronger than me. No one could even hurt me until after I fought her, Kenpachi Yachiru, the first to bear our title. He pointed to the lone scar he had over his eye. "That was the first time I ever enjoyed myself in a fight, and the first time I was afraid when I almost killed her. I weakened myself to an embarrassing degree in an effort to enjoy as many fights as I could. Then one day I found a little girl. She did not fear me or reject me, and I would choose to name her after the only person I respected, and the title of a Kenpachi as my name. I killed the previous Kenpachi in a single strike, became a captain with no training and no access to the true power of my Senpaku. I've stayed like that for so long until I met a certain kid, a kid that welcomed my challenge, a kid that freed me of my greatest fear, a kid that grew into a warrior I'd be proud to follow into hell itself if he asked, because he promised me all the fun I could ever ask for. I am the Kenpachi, the strongest soul reaper of the Gotai, and that brat is Ichigo Kurosaki, the future captain commander of the Gotai. There is nothing that can stand against either of us." He stepped off of Asashiro and pulled the man to his feet. "Now, as a courtesy of one Kenpachi to another, I'll let you die on your feet. One last strike," he said, taking a kendo stance and holding his sword with both hands. Asashiro glared at Saraki before releasing a sigh. I suppose that's the best offer I can get," he finally said before holding out his hand. Slowly an Asuhachi blade formed in his grip. "Let's do this." Despite how plain the sword looked, it radiated with power, likely the concentrated amount of reishi that it took for him to merge with the whole society during his long year of imprisonment. The two raised their blades, charged and swung, creating a massive explosion of force and power that rocketed the Serite high above them. When the dust finally settled, Kenpachi sheathed his blade and Asashiro fell to the ground. The life of the 8th Kenpachi was ended. Society tried to forget you, but no more. You will be remembered, Saraki promised as he returned to the elevator, turned off the Kido tag that created its barrier. Society is done hiding from its past. Other Quincy preparations. Hey, is this safe? A guy strapped to a table asked, nervous and terrified as Mayuri tapped away a few commands at his station. He had to pause his other project while they cleared out the ice and repaired the damage done. But still had many other projects to work on in the meantime. Who cares? Mayuri responded before pulling a switch. Besides, you're a death row inmate, so it doesn't really matter. The man screamed in horror and pain as the chamber was flooded with Haruishi. Seconds passed, filled with screams of pain and torment, before finally falling silent as the man faded from existence. After an extensive analysis done on Uryu and BG9, Urahara and Mayuri figured out how to make artificial Quincy while using the Squad 15 Lieutenant as a base. The experiment was multi-purpose in testing an idea as a countermeasure against the Quincy of the Vandaraka, effectiveness against the Quincy, the effects it would have on other souls, and Shinigami Shinigami, the effects in Rancor, and how Ichigo's own Rishi would affect the experiment. If the results were as Mayuri and Kisuke predicted, they either get asset denial or they either get asset denial or potentially boost Ichigo's power as a result. No question that what they were doing was one of the most vile war crimes. But Yubak was not known for his humanity. The old guard of the Gotai were ruthless for a reason. Next one is ready, Master Mayuri. Nemu stated, sounding more monotone than usual. Recently made a Rancor from a random hollow. She brought in a blonde man with a helmet mask fragment. Something wrong, Nemu? He asked in a rare display of concern, knowing her attitude might affect her performance. I miss sex with my boyfriend, she said, making Mayuri sigh and continue with his very unethical experiments. End of chapter 81. 91.